Добрый вечер. Все, кто к нам сегодня присоединился. Мы продолжаем серию наших лекций, посвященных новым нормальностям. И сегодня у нас в гостях Гюванч Донмез, главный исполнительный директор по foodtech совместного предприятия Mail.ru Group и Сбербанка. Я рада приветствовать Гюванча. Гюванч, hello. You hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Yeah,
Should I switch on my video as well?
Yes, please. Yeah, thank you. So I just briefly introduce you. Наша лекция сегодня будет на английском языке, поэтому я переключаюсь на английский. Gülwich, hello again. Thank you for joining us this evening, and we're really happy that you're with us and ready to share your ideas with our students. And there are a lot of discussion taking place now, especially with coronavirus, that what would be a new normal, how the offices would look after we get back from the quarantine. Would some jobs be still there, or what would happen, which jobs would vanish? And to be honest, the tendencies were there already, including the changes in technology. But with the situation now, it actually forces some tendencies, and we're getting more faster to the situation, which would probably take longer in normal circumstances. So today we will talk about how the future careers would change, how the technology would influence the career development. And for recent graduates and for students who are now in the second or third year, of course, this is very challenging because they are just only starting their career. They will be looking for the jobs probably probably in June or August. So I give floor to you, and please share with our students what they should do. What is the secret of success? How to develop a career now? Okay.
All right. Okay. So first of all, thank you for having me here. I really appreciate. Although I don't see everybody, but I know that I'm speaking to a big audience. So thank you very much for this. Look, guys, I think I feel very young. So I was a student like you, and that's why I'm right now working as a CEO of also a food tech company. But for your information, this is the joint venture between Mail.ru Group and also Sberbank. And it also has invested into companies like Delivery Club, Our Keeper, Sber Food. It's an investor in Samakat. So basically, it's a big company investing into the food tech. I'm the CEO of that company. And I'm also actively running Delivery Club delivery service, which I'm sure that you all know. But today, I'm going to talk about get ready for a future career, but I'm not a futurologist. And actually, I'm not a tech expert, but I've come to here to speak with you. And here, I am much more, I want to speak with you about my experience and what brought me here. And I think I will try to derive some lessons from my own experience that maybe you can get some advice. So I'm not here to advise you, but looking at my experience, maybe you can drive some lessons for your own career. So just to be clear, this is my background. And why am I here? So because you need to establish yourself. What are your credentials? So basically, I've been in Russia for a long time. I'm originally Turkish. I came to Russia because I fell in love with my wife, who is Russian. Her name is Yana Dönmez, and she's the general director of Karkunov Chocolates. And I'm very proud about that. So I came here because of her, but basically, I have a list of achievements in my life. And there are those students in the class that they always try to do the highest, the best, and they are the first ones to answer the teacher. I was that student, so which I call it the achiever style student. And so I have a bunch of achievements that I have achieved in my life, but several of them, notable of them is I was the ex-CEO of Domino's Pizza Master franchise in Russia, and actually we went to a successful IPO with Domino's Pizza in 2017 under my lead. So right now I'm working with Delivery Club, and Delivery Club sales also increased more than double in the less than actually 6-7 months, and now we are growing even further. I was one of the fastest promoted people in P&G because I started my career in P&G, and I'm a very active person in terms of I don't stay where I am because I always try to do more than what I'm capable of, and that's one of my weaknesses, but also at the same time it gave me a lot of opportunities in life. So I think I'm a very curious person, and I try to learn everything all the time. I want to talk about that. So, you know, these are the successes, and it's nice to talk about success. And everybody likes to talk about my achievements, my success. But actually, my biggest success is my wife. So, Yana Dönmez. And my other bigger success is I was able to have 2 kids from my wife, which for me, my biggest success in this life, I consider is my family. So although you can see my son is blonde and none of us are blonde, so I don't know, he's my success, just a joke. But jokes aside, this is my biggest success, to have a great family in life. So let's look at also some of the failures. So I failed to be a musician. I wanted to be a guitar player. I failed. I tried to be a basketball player. I played basketball competitively in the school. I failed. I failed with my first company in high school. My brother cheated me, by the way. So I learned the importance of audits. I failed with my first launch in Procter & Gamble. We wrote off more than $1 million in loss. And actually, I failed with 3 attempts of turnaround with my project in Samsung. So I think what's important in life is failing is not bad. Failing is great if you can learn from that. So one of the things that I follow in life is fail fast. Why is it important? Because the importance of failing fast is very important for your future career. Just some examples. Under my lead, I took over Domino's in 2015, and under my lead, we were able to double the business year on year. I came to the company in Domino's Pizza as a CEO, and the company had almost 0 online sales. But when I was leaving, online sales became like 80% of the total delivery sales. In reality, I had 0 online experience. So why is it important? Because now you are all wondering, how should I get ready for the future career? So I don't think that you can predict the future to a large extent with success. I don't think this is possible. But I think what's possible is you can prepare yourself. You can prepare yourself so that you can adapt. And I think this is what I have done all my life. And this is me in London Stock Exchange in 2017. This is our successful IPO. IPO is initial public offering. So as a master franchise of Domino's Pizza of Russia, and we merged with Turkey. And we went public successfully in 2017. For me, that was one of the big career success. I was below 40 by that age, managing the Russian business. And for me, it was one of the key moments in my career where I felt like, hey, how did I get here? So I will tell you, actually, a very, very important lesson. We get appreciated in life publicly for what we do in privately. And I will tell you about what I do privately and what you can maybe learn from that. So I don't want to spend so much time on my career, but I want to give you some real life examples about how to use the technology, and how my usage of technology can be an inspiration maybe for your use of technology. Because if you are expecting me to tell you about how the future is going to change in terms of technology, I'm not that person. And I don't think that anybody can really predict it well. I think you should go to another source. But I can tell you what you can do with technology. Let me give you an example. Restaurant business. Restaurant business is one of the most analog businesses which didn't change in the last maybe 1,000 years. You prepare food, like somebody orders the food, you prepare food and you serve the food. That's all. So what was very different in Domino's Pizza when I came there is you run with a software. So this software is something that you see in this screen. So you take an order, the order goes to the screen. You see the guy is looking at the screen. And actually, this is one thing, like it goes now. A lot of restaurants are doing it, but Domino's has been doing it for a long time. And the second thing that is interesting is once this order is on the screen, actually everybody has a KPI of preparing the pizza in a very short amount of time. So the pizza has to be ready, let's say, under 2 minutes. And you see that they are really rushing, the pizza makers, in order to prepare this pizza. And once this pizza is prepared, actually there is a keyboard in here. And once they put it to the oven, they will click on the keyboard. Now, what does it say? Why is it so important? And why am I telling this non-technology story? Because simply by clicking on the keyboard, once you prepare the pizza and that goes through the oven, you can start managing and measuring the overall preparation time of the pizza, number one, because you know when you got the order. Secondly, this oven is a walking oven, so it's only for 6 minutes. So you know when the pizza got into the oven, and you can also understand when the pizza will get out of the oven because it works in 6 minutes. And then this driver in here is going to pick it up, actually, and then when she's leaving, she's going to click on the click on the screen. So this is how it works. Order on screen, 0 minutes. Pizza ready, right? In 2 minutes. Pizza out of the oven in 9 minutes. Then pizza in the box by the manager, and then driver picks it up, and then driver logs in on the screen, and then she comes back and she logs in again. And this very, very simple technology, which you don't need, a big technology for this, made Domino's the fastest pizza delivery company in the world. Why? Because they were simply able to track the performance of these employees, the pizza makers, and the performance of the driver, and the performance of the overall the store in terms of serving the employees. And just Domino's Pizza did it like maybe 10 years earlier than the other peers, and that made Domino's the fastest. So what did we learn from that is it's not about the level of the technology, because this level of technology is actually very basic, but it's more about how you apply the technology in life and in business that really, really makes a big difference. So the second thing is about something about your career. And I want to give you an example here. So you know that most breakthroughs in life are done out of necessity. So what do I mean by that? If you think about a lot of innovations, those innovations did not come out because somebody really said that I want to invent this. So a lot of innovations come out of necessity because somebody needed that. I just want to give you an example. I call it motivation is desperation plus inspiration. Why am I saying this? Because that has a big impact on your future career. Because it depends on you how you approach the problems. If you are comfortable where you are, you will have basically less motivation to innovate and to go beyond. I have an example from my business in Domino's. We were looking at how we can do deliveries in the city center, and there was traffic. But scooters don't work in the traffic in the snow conditions. So we were looking for something. Is there a scooter that goes safely in the snow? That was the question that we asked, because we really wanted to launch deliveries fast in the city center without the cars. And actually, answer came from one of our employees who did a Yandex search and who found, a three-wheel scooter that goes in the snow up to 50 kilometers. And that simple thing, that simple machine changed our life in the city center. We started opening a lot of stores and serving under 30 minutes. Why did we do that? Because we were desperate. So when you are desperate, and when you are inspired to do something well, actually it equals motivation. And why is it important for you? It's not about you have a technology and you use this technology. It's more about what are you desperate about, and are you motivated to solve that problem? And technology is, normally fulfills that gap. I have another example I can tell you is how desperate we were. It was 2015. And I have this story of we wanted to launch the online web page, and it was at that time everything was a web page. So and we launched Domino'sPizza.com, Domino'sPizza.ru, sorry. And the issue is it was too long to write, and we said, why don't we get Domino's.ru? But then we understood that it was already taken by a troll, and what we had to do is we had to go to that troll and we had to make a negotiation, and we understood it's a Russian person already, and we found that person and we said hey, can we buy that from you? And long story short, We didn't have the means or the budget or anything to be able to, to pay a lot of money. But eventually we agreed to buy this for like a very moderate sum, and in addition, a free pizza. So we basically, provided free pizza. So that was how we were motivated to solve the problem. So I think one of the important things in your career that you will see is you are going to be more innovative, and you are going to achieve breakthrough when you are in desperate need of actually innovation. So I think this is very important going forward. The third thing, so some people find solutions, breakthroughs, and some people don't. Why? Some people answer the question in a very traditional way, and some people answer the question in a very breakthrough way. Why? So this is all about how you, in my view, read the information and the data. So let me give you an example. So look at the screen. I mean, you can see that a very, very basic trend line in here. So there's a data set, and the data set shows that there's a clear correlation, okay, between the two metrics in here. So, right, so but there is often an outlier in here. So, and most people, when they read the data, they just make a conclusion, right? So they say, the price drops and sales increase. So, well, and this happens at work a lot. So you go to work and you expect that there will be a very sometimes detailed data analysis. But actually what you see is often, you see people just reading trend lines. And that is not helpful, and that's not insightful, and you can learn nothing with that. So you often learn when you actually look at the outliers. And the outliers are the ones who will teach you much more. And I think right now, if you look at the technology, how the data science is evolving, data science is very much focused on actually finding these correlations. And data science is not doing very well with the outliers. So I will say something very contrary to technology, although I love the use of technology, advanced data science, and we are using that at work on many, many fronts with machine learning. But oftentimes, you can gain much more insight from an outlier by simply analyzing that outlier. Let me give you an example. I remember that in 2015, I acquired only 19 stores in Domino's, and only 2 of them were doing very high volumes. 17 of them were not doing very well. So I decided to go to these 2 stores, and I basically sit there with a few people from my team, and we just watched what's happening. And we just tried to understand, why is this store doing more sales, significantly more sales than the others? And believe me, after staying one day in one store and one day in the other store, it became super obvious to us. The stores were in the beginning, in the entrance of the spalny rayons, which is the sleeping regions. They had very good visibility. Both of them were run by single Russian women who were incredible strong leaders and who were working for Domino's for a long time, which means that they had very, very good teams. And they really understood the neighborhood really well. And simply these characteristics made these stores high volume stores. When we understood those 2 stores, then we created a training system actually to roll this out to the other stores as well. It's just a very simple, stupid way of understanding the outliers. So oftentimes, there's a question, who among you is going to be the most successful one? I would normally look at around and I would try to find the outliers. And so because outliers tend to do actually quite well in life, because they can look at things differently. Secondly, if you just follow the trend line, your competition is also looking at the trend line. So, by doing what your competition is doing, you cannot build market share, you cannot be successful. So identifying outliers and, being curious about what drives their success is very important. The other thing is, again, learning to work from outside to inside. Why? Because you will understand that today technology is solving a lot of problems, but without the human understanding of the problem and without the definition of the problem, you cannot solve the problems. You can simply, it's like trying to solve problems with technology is like throwing nuclear bombs onto some of the terrorists. So instead, you can do a much better job by understanding where the terrorists are and applying guerrilla tactics to the guerrillas. So I think it is very important. Understanding the problem is the beginning of actually solving the problem. And to understand the problem, oftentimes in business, and it's about also the usage of technology, And this is a lot of people that make this mistake, that they go into the technology. I don't go into the technology. I normally stay out of the technology. I look at the human problem. So let me give you an example. So we had this problem of old Domino's stores, and nobody wanted to go inside. So because it's mostly a delivery format, and only 30% of the business was in carry out, and it looked not so good. And we had to renovate these stores. But it was very expensive, because when I looked at the bill, that it was like almost like renewing everything for the store. So, but we didn't have the capital budget to renovate all these stores. So what did we do? I looked at this as like a customer. So if I'm a customer, what would I look at? Well, do I really care about the quality of the material, or the door, or the how the inside, do I look at the visible things, or do I look at the invisible things? As a customer, you are of course looking at the visible things, because that's what you are exposed to. And at that time, I had this insight of renovating my apartment. So I knew what really costs and what are the cost items. If you don't touch engineering, if you don't touch, changing the walls, actually remont is not so expensive. So we decided, okay, let's take an old store, and then let's turn that old store into a new store. And how did we do that? We simply took what is visible, and we turned only the visible things into cool things. And you can see, how the stores look like before and how the stores look like after, which actually made a big change. And how did that happen? Because we only looked at it from the customer standpoint. What's important for the customer? Well, the color is important. The bricks gave the cozy feeling. We put, instead of white lights, we use the yellow lights, and so on and so forth. And why? And we changed the color from a blue color to a black and red color, and we were able to do that because we simply copied the idea from France Domino's. So, and again, the underlying methodology, the underlying mindset here is, if I look at the customer, if I look like a customer, if I put myself in the place of a customer, can I actually solve the customer problem? And we only solve the customer problem. So we didn't need, anything else. And this was like really, really cheap renovation that helped us to roll out to all the stores, and we increased our total carry-out sales dramatically. So, well, another story is when it comes to getting ready for a career in technology. So one of the topics that I want to cover is, how do you get a career in technology? Well, I think there's a lot of things you can do. First of all, it is very obvious right now is basically advanced data science, computing, computer science, obviously, deeper levels of AI. These technologies are changing the life already. But I would say that there are ways of staying within the technology and become a specialist in that technology, or there are ways of learning how to apply those technologies. And in my life, I was never a technician. So I was never actually a technology creator. And I was, I obviously trained myself on programming. I was in the school. I learned how to write code in C++ and so on. But that was never interesting for me. For me, what was interesting is how to apply. So let me tell you the story of how I learned e-commerce. I came to Domino's and I had to launch online sales, but I had no clue how to do online sales because I didn't know online marketing. That was 2015. And by the way, by that time, I was already at the age of 33. So I had like already 13, 14 years of career in traditional marketing. And I didn't know how to do online marketing. So what I have done is I had one of my ex-employees in P&G who was a mentee for me, and she was a CMO in a top fashion company at that time. So I invited her to teach me. So basically, my student became my teacher. So I became a student, and she started to teach me all about e-commerce. So instead of taking Russian classes in the morning, I started to take e-commerce classes in the morning from her. And she taught me all about performance marketing, fundamentals of the e-commerce, fundamentals of UX, and so on and so forth. And actually, as an executive, as a CEO, I learned how to do e-commerce, and that actually made a huge impact on my basic results by launching e-commerce successfully. I want to give you an example here because you are wondering, why I'm not talking about technology? Because I think technology will change, and it will evolve in so many different ways. And I don't think that you can predict that. And I don't think that you can get ahead of it. But what you can do is you can learn to learn. And this is something that I became really, really good at. I want to give you an example. This is from year 2015. I call it being a hyper learner. Hyper learner means like this student mindset. A lot of people, when they graduate and when they become successful at work, in careers, they become arrogant. And they become, I know this, you know, like, so I got promoted, I became a director, I became a CEO, I'm successful. Well, I never ever acted that way. Every time I acted that way, I failed. And I failed miserably, because when you act arrogant, you don't learn. So I think one of the biggest mistakes in my life that I've done is when I acted arrogant. So I learned to be humble, and I learned to say, I don't know, let me learn. And that curiosity helped me a lot. I'm giving you an example here. This is from 2015. We were about to launch Domino's application. Actually, we launched one Domino's application in a very unsuccessful manner in 2016, sorry. And we had to relaunch the application because the application was really, really bad. And we didn't know how to do that because we were like still a startup. So what we have done is we decided to look at all the successful applications in our market. So we looked at Pizza Hut, KFC, you know, Papa John's, Delivery Club at that time. And we said, what are the unifying factors in here? And actually out of looking at this all together as a team, getting all together in a workshop and looking at things, we came up with 11 different principles of UX design. Well, at that time, you can say that, hey, why don't you go to Google and download the book? But we didn't have that book. We didn't have the UX principles. So we simply had to extract those learnings by copying the successful and unsuccessful applications. And that helped us to launch our application for the second time after the first failure. And that became actually a very successful application, which became now almost half of the business, or bigger than half of the business today, with a very, very high level of conversion rate. So my answer, my learning here is be a student and don't stop being a student. Now, the other thing is, again, when you live in an online world, and I live in an online world because I lead an online company, so online group of companies, and we are all very tech-based. But actually, one of the things that I really, really try to do is people and companies and everybody goes more online, I try to go more offline. I know that this is very counter, right? So, you know, the whole world is going online, but as the world goes online, I also try to go offline. Why do I do that? Because as I explained to you before, if you know the people problem, then actually you can apply the right technology better. So if you really know what's happening at the offline level, then actually being an online player is much more easy. So I found myself many times actually working with the people in the stores. You see here me in one of the problematic stores where we had a huge problem with our the exhaust and the design. And I'm here actually checking that out myself, because by being so much in touch with the offline world, that actually helped me to solve the problems much better and apply technology when it was necessary. So in my view, the world is gonna go online at an incredible speed, especially after the COVID, it's gonna even accelerate. But as the world goes online, make sure that you also you stay in touch with the offline, with the people, with the reality, with the physicality, and because this will give you insights that you can solve in the online world. Another thing that is necessary for your future career is the sooner you learn how to motivate people, the better it is. And it will make you a better leader. Whether you work in a traditional career, whether you work in a startup, whether you work to become a top manager, it doesn't matter. So it's all about people. You can't get things done yourself. So you have to do it together with the others. Now, yeah, teamwork is important, you know, working with the others is important, but at the end of the day, your power and your results depend on how well you motivate other people. And learn this early. And one of the biggest problems in the education, the traditional education, is unfortunately, traditional education doesn't teach us. In my education, I didn't get it. I went through the school. I went through high school with a very high level. I went through the university. Nobody taught me how to motivate other people. Nobody taught me leadership. Because in my age, I'm right now 43 years old. In my age, I mean, in my education, nobody taught me how to coach other people, how to motivate other people, how to be a leader for the other people. All of these things I had to learn throughout my career in the company career. So my point is, if you can learn this in advance, so instead of waiting for a company to teach you or making your own mistakes and learning, if you can learn how to lead people, how to coach people, how to motivate people, because there's a lot of available courses and knowledge right now, you can make a big head start. Because believe me, in life, what I have seen is, it's not the IQ that makes you successful, it's the EQ, the emotional intelligence, that makes you successful. So that's why make sure that you have a very balanced learning in terms of EQ, not only the functional knowledge. And the other thing that I want to say is, in my you know, I would say youth, information was still gold, because it was difficult to reach information. You know, I remember myself reading encyclopedias. It was so interesting for me to read encyclopedia, learn different things. Now, who needs encyclopedias? Because every information is available. But does that make us more knowledgeable? No. Why? Because we don't need it. We can reach that information anytime we want. So what differentiates you is going to be your curiosity and your ability to lead other people. So that is why information is becoming commodity, and it's not important anymore. And so your soft skills in a tech world actually will help you in the future. I also want to say that mentors are a shortcut to success. So I was very, very lucky, because I had a mentor when I was only 18 years old. When I was only 18 years old, I had a mentor, and my mentor really. So, çalışıyorum, tamam mı? Çalışıyorum. Evet, bir tane çocuk. So basically, I had a mentor when I was only 18 years old, and I was very lucky to have a mentor. And make sure that you get somebody to advise you, and that mentor could be anybody that you aspire to work with, that you like them, that you have some sort of like chemistry between yourselves, somebody more experienced than you. But basically, asking people for help, actually people always deliver on that help. So I have never seen a situation where I go to somebody who knows the subject more than me, and even they don't know me. I ask them, hey, my name is Gюvанç, I work in here. I know that you do this really well. Could you please help me? Could you give me some advice? Nobody said no. So that's why I think, you know, take advantage of mentorship, especially on the areas that you want to excel at. I'm finishing, so I'm also getting to how you spend your time, because I think being able to master your time management is going to be very critical. Why? Because we have 24 hours in life. You know, if I try to beat my competition by overworking, good luck. All the Chinese competition will outbeat me, because they work more, because they work during Saturdays, right? So I worked in Samsung in an Asian company, and we worked Monday to Friday. They worked Monday to Saturday. So they were working one day extra. Why? Because it's in their culture. As of the Second World War, they decided to work in the Saturdays as well, because they said, we are late, so we have to catch up. So you know, if you only try to work more to beat your competition, that's not going to work. So what will work is if you work smartly, which means that you have to allocate your time. So first question that I'm going to ask you is, if you want to be more productive, is do an audit on your time. So this is what I do. I divide my time into 15 minutes, and I put everything, you know, in different coding. Green is my self-time, like shaving is my self-time. You can say it's a waste of time. No, because when I'm shaving, I can watch a YouTube video. Or commuting is a self-time. Why? Because when I'm commuting, I can read something, or I can listen to something. So breakfast time is a family time. So basically, by auditing your time and dividing into 15 minutes, you can come up with the following table. So, and this is very important. How much time do you spend on sleep? How much time for work? How much time for family time, self-time, couple time, sports time, friends time? And what is important in here is, if you are unhappy in life, you probably do not invest enough time in one of those things. And when you feel sometimes you have to work a lot, there were periods in my life that I had to work a lot. What I have done is I aligned that I'm going to work a lot, and I'm going to invest more into the work time. And I said to my wife, I'm going to sacrifice from either family time or my couple time. or most of the time self-time. What makes a lot of people upset in life is actually not having self-time. So why self-time is very important? Because if you don't have self-time to reflect on what you have done wrong, how you failed, how you're going to learn from that, and if you don't invest time to learn, to be curious, to read, then you cannot grow in life. And if you want to be happy in life, progress comes from happiness. I read 3 times faster than average human beings because I trained on fast reading. So people read with 200 words per minute. I read with 600 words per minute. And that gives me an advantage in terms of learning much faster than the other people. So when I have a problem in life, I read a book about it. So I think this is what I can recommend you is make sure that you divide your time, audit your time, and see if you are investing in one part of your time much more than the others. Or maybe you don't have enough time for one of those things. You don't have enough time for sports, you're going to get fat. You don't have enough time for couple time, right? You know, so your romantic life is going to be miserable. So you don't have enough for family time, well, you know, your kids will miss you. So I think it is important to make sure that you understand and you engineer things. I know CEOs, top CFOs, top CEOs, board members, they manage billion-dollar businesses. They fail to manage this simple, stupid table. So start with managing your time. If you manage this, you can manage billions of dollars. It's not a problem. So I just want to finish my official part of the presentation saying that don't seek success, seek happiness, because success doesn't bring happiness in my experience. Happiness brings success. So actually I became a happier person when I found my wife, came to Russia, and I just seek happiness, and that brought me a lot of success. And by the way, success doesn't mean you're going to be successful all the time. It means that you will fail a lot, but you'll be fine with it. You'll learn from that, you'll grow again. So that's the thought that I want to leave you with. And you know, if you like, you can take a screenshot or a picture of the recommended reading. As I said, I read you know, a lot of books, and these are some of the books that can help you to form, you know, your mindset in life to get ready for a future career. And so please take a picture of this. I'll give you a moment, and I will send it to the organizers. And you can also take a picture of this. So if you want to get in touch with me, and if you have any questions, I will be very happy to answer your questions or try to be of help. Of course, I'm limited with my own time, but believe me, if you have a question and want to talk to me, I will do my best to educate or dedicate my time because I believe in life that one of our role and one of the things that makes us happy is to give back. I was very blessed to learn a lot from my teachers and my mentors, and I believe that it's my responsibility to also pay back. So if you have any questions, just let me know. So basically, that's all for the official part of my presentation. So I'm happy to answer the questions now.
Thank you, Güvänç, very much for sharing your ideas with us. It was really interesting, and I hope our students will learn a lot, at least how to manage work-life balance, how to manage time. It's really very valuable information. And thanks for sharing also your failures. Yeah, we always teach our students that only every 10th startup would survive. So you're actually, your experiences supporting this idea in a certain way. I'm having some questions from our students, so I'm happy to translate them to you. First one concerns pizza. For you, what is more important, the time of the delivery or the taste of the pizza?
Right. I think both of them are very important, right? So I don't think you can prioritize one over the other. So I think first of all, the food needs to be eatable. If the food is not in good condition, it doesn't matter the delivery time. So I think what we learn over and over in terms of our when we study our retention is food needs to be in a very tasty shape and right temperature, and it needs to come at a time that people are ready to wait for. So that's why also in technology, it's important to tell people when the food will arrive, and so that they understand when it's gonna come. So I think it's not one or the other, but it's both.
Okay, thank you very much. We have another question concerning your business now, yeah, and you are in the delivery business, and the question is, how do you support your staff, as they are now at the edge, at the front, with the coronavirus? Do you have any some kind of maybe some programs to support?
Yes. First of all, I think it all starts with the purpose of our company. Right now, especially with the COVID, we play a very important role because restaurants are closing down and losing income very rapidly, and customers are in need of food because they can't go to the restaurants anymore. So our company has become the lifeline, and our couriers has become the lifeline in connecting these restaurants with the customers. And this is the purpose that we have as a company, and this is what motivates our employees and our couriers. That's number one. Number two, we also understand that couriers being on the front line of the service, it is very important that we take care of them. And that's why, first of all, we were the first company who introduced contactless payments. We are the first company who also introduced the contactless tips. In addition to that, we also support our couriers with double the tips campaign. Before the COVID, actually the level of tipping was less than 5%. Now the tipping actually doubled, which is great for our couriers because we don't get any income out of this, right? So it's only for the couriers, and we promoted that by doubling the tips. So if you pay tips, we're going to double the tips from our own pockets. In addition to that, we bought a testing equipment for COVID. We rented 2 mobile units that went around and tested the couriers. If the courier is sick, there is no incentive for them to work because we pay for their salary for the period that they are in quarantine. And basically, they can just stay at home, rest, and we will pay them the salary. So because we don't want to motivate any courier to work sick, despite we have all the safe delivery conditions. So I would say that if you don't act with this mindset of, safety of the couriers and the community first, you can't manage such operations. Because today, in April, we have completed 4.5 million orders, per month. So it's a huge scale, and it starts with the mindset of safety first.
Okay, thank you very much. And I have another question concerning how to motivate your staff. And being a leader now, you probably having a lot of Zoom meetings, and working distantly with your team. Do you see any difference, in managing team distantly? Are there any challenges, and how you overcome them?
Yeah, first of all, I think the versus pre-COVID period, our productivity increased. So, how can I measure that? I can look at the number of the releases that we did before COVID and post-COVID, and I can say that our productivity increased dramatically. So, why did that happen? Number one, there is very clear need because market is changing and we have a purpose. And as I said, purpose is very important because you can't force people into work, right? So they need to be motivated. Think about yourself. You don't wake up and say, I'm going to be unsuccessful today. Everybody wakes up to be successful. Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, I want to fail, right? So everybody wants to succeed. Important thing is, can this motivation be aligned with the company's purpose? And I think we do a good job in here as Delivery Club because we have a clear purpose. That's number one. Number two, during this COVID, we started to over-communicate. I'm a fan of over-communication, especially from the leadership. But during this period, we started to communicate daily as a leadership team. So it starts with the leadership, and then it goes to the whole organization. So we connect daily with the leadership team for 1 hour in the morning, and then everything is taught in 1 hour, and then the teams go and self-organize themselves. To be honest, you can't really, force or control people. We don't really focus on that. What we focus on is there a purpose? Are there clear tools? Are there clear goals? Are there clear accountability? And, actually people should be recognized for their achievements, and, we should deal with the underperformance. But what we have seen during this period is actually because of the purpose and because of these demands of the outside world, basically because of the necessity, we were able to deliver more. And I think this is what I see is how, if I would go back to pre-COVID period, I would do the following. How can I create this level of necessity every day? Because in such necessity, we work better, right? So, and so what is the difference in the crisis period versus pre-crisis period is in the crisis period, people are ready to accept changes much easier. pre-crisis period, you have to convince them. Well, the crisis convinces people. Crisis breaks barriers. So in that respect, actually, I personally love crisis because it helps me to do the changes much faster. But is it sustainable? I think that's the key question for the organizations. I think here, the organizations that live in constant crisis tend to be better organizations, meaning they tend to change faster, they tend to adapt faster, and they are paranoid, which means that they can learn and they can adapt fast. So I believe that this constant learning, constant crisis, constant paranoia is helpful. What you need to take care of is you need to make sure that employees have enough time in order to relax, reflect, be motivated with the achievements.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and your business really represents the industry which got a lot of opportunities from this situation, right? And what would you think about the work-life balance? Had it changed during this quarantine time, and your personal schedule, which you shared with us, has it
Right.
changed also? Mm-hmm.
So first of all, I can personally tell you my work-life balance. First, my productivity increased dramatically. So I always consider myself a productive person because I really, really work on my productivity because I constantly reflect on my, you have seen my audit, like I audit my time and I improved it and I engineered it. So I'm crazy obsessed about my productivity. I can tell that my productivity increased. Why? Well, because I don't have to go to a face-to-face meeting and spend time in the elevator, right? So I don't have to take a taxi and go meet with a partner in one office, wait for the security guy, register myself with the propusk and all these things. So I think post-COVID, these behaviors are going to change a little bit. So I think we will have less and less face-to-face meetings. That doesn't mean that we don't need face-to-face meetings. I love to meet with a friend. I love to meet with my family. I love to meet with some people like face-to-face and observe them. But I think there will be less need. And overall, I think that made us more productive. But at the same time, it comes at a cost. I would also say that constantly working with the screen, where you are constantly engaged with all your senses because you don't read the body language, makes you more tired. And I think this is the exhausting part. And I think what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to adjust my relaxation routine, basically to finish my work on time, go for a walk with my family, reconnect with my wife and my kids. I try to do that in a more disciplined fashion. Am I really good at this? Not really so far. So I'm getting better, but not really. Why? Because I see a purpose. Because every day I believe that I can do more and actually I can make a better impact. So when I see that, I go after that. So that's personally me. For our employees already are tired, especially the tech employees, not only the couriers, but also tech employees. They are telling us, guys, we are tired. So we can see that. So that is why, we are now thinking about how we can really manage our employees and manage this work-life balance better. Because everybody was afraid with COVID, people will be lazy, not working. Actually, we have opposite situation. Our people are exhausted, and we are trying to deal with that now.
Yeah, I understand. Thank you. I have another question, and not about quarantine. Yeah. Let's talk about what we call a portfolio career. Yeah, I know that. Sorry, about the portfolio career. I know that together with building a corporate career, you're also an entrepreneur. Yeah, you have your own business. And can you give an advice which skills you have to possess, yeah, to be able to build such a career, yeah, so to be able to devote time to different projects, and is it necessary now? Yeah, is the new situation not only the COVID situation, but the changing of the jobs, yeah, the changing partners of employment? Is it a good idea to have a portfolio career, and how can you manage it?
I think so. First of all, thank you very much for the question because there are people who follow a corporate career, or there are people who follow an entrepreneurial career, and normally they don't change, right? So, so I think I'm a mixture of both, and I don't think this is because it's not by design. It's just simply because I was very curious. So I followed a corporate career. I started in Procter & Gamble. went up the ladders quite fast, became a marketing director, was managing more than $1 billion. But I was somehow thirsty for fast decision making. I was thirsty for, hey, why don't I try this? Hey, what if I became an entrepreneur? What would happen? But it's very difficult. It's very, very difficult to become an entrepreneur when you have a nice title, like a marketing director title, a marketing director salary. People are respecting you, $1 billion business. How can you become an entrepreneur? Like you're going to leave it all and you're going to start becoming an entrepreneur? That doesn't happen. And that's why many corporate people don't end up entrepreneurs, right? So, so what did I do is, first I was really looking for how to become an entrepreneur without giving up what I have. So I decided to live a parallel life, but that came at a cost. So first of all, I was looking for ways to invest some of my savings. And at that time, my sister and her husband got really hard time in their business and they lost their business and they are in the restaurant industry. So I decided to invest. What better idea than investing with your family? So because I trust her, I know her. So I decided to invest with my sister to a business, but we put some rules. Like, this business has to be a scalable business. It has to be like, crisis-proof and so on and so forth. And so that's why I basically became an investor. Then I did a business plan. We work with them and I help them with the marketing and so on and so forth. But long story short, now we have like a small chain of 10 restaurants. My sister totally runs the company. And I became an entrepreneur. But what's important is not the money that I earn or the passive income. What's really important is by investing into a business and going the ups and downs of that business and working with your sister as actually the operator of that company, I learned how to become an investor and how the investors think. As an investor, all I care about is I want my investment back. I want daily profits, right? So, and they as management and also shareholders, they're not so much interested in that. What they want is they just want to grow the chain. They want to use the capital. This gave me so much insight when I'm working in a big corporation and when I'm dealing with investors. Believe me, when I deal with the big corporate investors, they don't have different motivations than I have for my own business. So basically having this parallel life helped me to think like an investor, but work like a manager at the same time. And even with my family, so then we were in conflict. So investors and managers got into conflict. We got into conflict with my family, and we were able to solve that through an agreement, which we call it the shareholder agreement. So basically but it didn't come easy. So I had to spend nights when I was working at the end of my P&G career, in the beginning of my Samsung career. I was really working at nights for also understanding the P&L of the business. At a point, we decided to not put our own capital, but get credit from a bank to grow the business. We had to take a big risk, and I had to go to a bank and beg for money and make a presentation to get extra credit. And we took that and we took a risk. So basically, it took a lot of extra time that I had to spend on top of my corporate life. So if you want to do that, if you want to go and go in two different lanes, you have to be ready to work really, really hard. But going and having that entrepreneurial mindset helped me a lot because number one, what happened as a result? Number one is when I was leaving my Samsung career, a corporate career, and starting Domino's career, and it was only 19 stores, it was a total startup. I did not fear to go to a total startup, number one. Number two, I had some passive income from that business with my sister, that if everything worked so badly, I could at least pay for my rent with that income. And that gave me this, courage to go to Domino's and took a risk. And as a result, we did an IPO, we became big and so on and so forth. That opened the door for me. If I were so scared to lose the income, maybe I wouldn't take that job because that job was very, very risky job. So going parallel life, I think is a great thing. It's hard, you gotta be ready, but it's very enriching.
Okay, thank you very much. I have two last questions, if you don't mind. The first from the last is, imagine that one of our students would go for interview for a job interview with you. Can you give an advice? What would you be looking at, or what would you be looking for during the interview?
Yeah, I look at the things that probably, there is this thing that people always try to copy themselves in the interview, right? So people look at their mirror copies in the interview, That's a big mistake. So I try not to copy myself in it. I know that it's a big mistake. So what I look at is the following. Number one, of course, it depends on the positions, but there are some universal traits. First, I look at the learning ability. And I love people who talk about their failures with pride. So I like people who says, I've tried that, I failed, but I learned and I did this. So these stories are very valuable for me. That's number one. Number two, I love when the students tell me the stories such as, here is what everybody else did, which is 90% of the population does this. Because in the university, you look at your friend and you do what they do, right? So I look at people like who did something totally opposite. Because those are the people in the future are going to do something opposite to the competition. And that gives you the edge. I can give you an example. In the second year in my university, and please don't take me wrong as a, but for me, I understood I have zero passion for university study. I basically said that I can't be an engineer. It's not for me. I studied industrial engineering. But when I started looking at these courses, I said, oh my God, this is not for me. I have an analytical mind. This is not my passion. I stopped going to the classes and I started working in a company, which is a Turkish company, but that prepared me for actually a P&G career. So by the time I applied P&G, already in the third year of the university, nobody had any work experience. I had 1 year of work experience. That gave me an edge. And while all my friends were working in the university, I stopped going to the university and started working. So I had like 2 years of advantage over the other people. So when I was having the interview with the university, with the P&G people asked me, why are you not studying? And I said to them, well, because this is not what I want. So I want to learn business as soon as possible. And having another engineering course is not going to teach me that. I'm clear about this. So I was very clear about my passion. So, and this was different than the 95 to 96% of the people, of my friends, who were always in the university. So maybe that's not a good example from that standpoint. But I really look at people who can really think, not with the average crowd, but who can go beyond that and do something really different. Because those people end up achieving breakthroughs in life.
Okay, yeah, thank you. And the last question, imagine if you were a student now and you were about to graduate, what would you do differently in building your career?
Oh, I would do so many things differently. So I think wow, I would, first of all, I'm super happy with the career that I made. I mean, P&G was a blessing. It was an amazing school, but like every school, you graduate, right? So, I think I would do a lot of things that I did before, like, because I really had a phenomenal career. But I mean, regardless of that, what I would do is I would learn more. I think, I'm a student in my mindset. I mean, I still sit down and read product management books. I still read about data science and the future of data science. I mean, I lead a tech company, but I read about data science because I think the future is going to be very exciting. I would probably read more as a student. I would connect with smart people more because in my time it was impossible. Right now it's possible. Like, you have my phone number and you have my social page and you can connect me. You can connect a lot of, interesting people and they will give their time. You can listen to them on YouTube. I would spend much more time on learning. And one of the observations I have about new generation is the focus. I think information is widely available, but I don't always see people having the focus to learn from that information. So I would probably try to reach out more and get more information. That sometimes I feel like I wasted time. So I would probably learn more different areas, challenge myself more, and probably I would also be an entrepreneur faster because I love this starting a company, failing with it, doing an experiment, losing some money, learning a lot. I would probably also do that more. So for the new generation, look, take some money from your parents or earn it is the best way. Okay, so work as part-time, get like some under your pocket 100,000 rubles, achieve 100,000 rubles, invest 50,000 into a business, lose it. Okay, it gives you more information than the MBA. So this is what I would do.
So yeah, your advice is to become a risk taker, and not to be afraid of it.
And lose your own money.
Money of your parents.
Or money of your parents, yes.
First money of your parents and then your own. Okay, Güvанч, thank you very much. It was really very interesting. I hope our students would get many insights of how to build a career, what things they should do now, how to prepare themselves. It was really very, very interesting. And for me personally, thank you for spending time with us. We wish you good luck with your business, your corporate business, your private business, your family, and we hope to see you again. Thank you very much.
It was a pleasure being with you. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. И мы должны сделать еще небольшой анонс наших предстоящих лекций. Завтра, 27 мая в 6 часов у нас будет лекция, посвященная текущей ситуации, является ли это непреодолимым барьером или новыми возможностями, и как на этот вопрос отвечают бренды PepsiCo, и у нас целая команда менеджмента из компании PepsiCo, это руководитель отдела электронной коммерции Виолетта Минина, Анастасия Евдокимова, диджитал-менеджер PepsiCo, Анна Кучеренко, старший бренд-менеджер, и Екатерина Машкова, диджитал-менеджер. Пожалуйста, присоединяйтесь к нашей лекции завтра. И второй анонс. У нас будет еще 2 июня, тоже интересная лекция во вторник в 12 часов дня. И лекция будет посвящена раздельному сбору отходов. Является ли это модным трендом или суровой необходимостью. И у нас в гостях будет Михаил Никольский, член экспертного совета при правительстве Российской Федерации. Пожалуйста, тоже присоединяйтесь к нам. А кто не успел присоединиться вовремя, вы всегда можете посмотреть записи нашей лекции на нашем канале в YouTube. А я тоже с вами прощаюсь. Спасибо всем, кто был с нами. Спасибо тем, кто присылал интересные вопросы. И отдельно спасибо нашему сегодняшнему приглашенному гостю. Всего хорошего и до свидания.